Hmm. Sweet. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to RWBY Grimm Eclipse. I'm your host, DustDC. If you're joining me from my previous stream, hello. If you're new, hello. Well, hey-oh. This stream I'll be playing, getting solo trophies while getting some solo trophies while reading some fanfic. Because, you know, fun times. Okay, so which one do I want to do first? The RWBY Haiku one looked amazing. Don't mind me, everyone, I'm just checking the trophies for RWBY Grimm Eclipse. Complete the campaign in single player. Yep, so don't say what. Difficulty, I'll go with the easiest then. Normal. Select my character. Miss Rose. Which outfit? Dance outfit, why not? Play.
Good news, team. The coordinates of Merlot's secret lab were contained within the data retrieved from the terminal. An airship has been deployed and will rendezvous with you shortly.
RWBY Haiku by posted November 12th, 2014 by Duggard. Grab a drink, let's go. When you're baking in the sun, don't sell yourself short. You're a fighting girl. There's something you believe in. Don't stop, keep going. I'm not gonna read haikus. I can't read haikus. Team RWBY in Quarantine by Show Me Your Fury. RWBY. Okay. Forgive spelling errors and everything like that. It is, and mispronunciation of words, because it is quite difficult to play a video game while reading something. RWBY plucked her sweatshirt off from the back of her chair and pulled it over her head before sitting. It was a little chilly in the room, but not enough to turn on the heat. The sweatshirt would be enough, and plus, it looked pretty cute. With one hand, she adjusted the collar, while the other opened the laptop she kept on the desk in her bedroom. RWBY logged in, finished getting comfortable in the sweatshirt, made a quick visual sweep of the room. It was time for Team RWBY's video call-in, and last time, much to her embarrassment, there had been a pair of her spare underwear in full view of the camera. What was I up to? Today, though, she had made sure to clean her room and make her bed, so there was nothing that Yang could make fun of or Weiss could criticize. Confident in her invulnerability to teasing, RWBY opened the chat app and clicked Join Room. A quiet musical note sounded, a brief boop boom boom boom, and a screen divided into 4 rectangular windows. Okay, you fucking... Apologies, ladies and gentlemen, but that guy needed to die. And also, I just was given dinner, so... it will be some time. Also, that I will not be able to see the chat. Interesting. Yes, very. Yang's camera was in the upper left. RWBY's sister was currently in the background, standing at her window and facing away from the camera. She was wearing her usual yellow tank top and black gym shorts, and was carrying a mug that RWBY presumed was her morning cup of coffee. Her striking yellow hair was messier than usual, but her room appeared fairly neat, at least by Yang's terms. There weren't any underwear left out in any case. "I think my plant is dying," Yang said, her distance from her computer making her voice faint and hard to hear. When was the last time you ordered? Blake's voice came through clear as day. The team's only Faunus member occupied the upper right quadrant of Ruby's screen. She was sitting close to a camera, looking tidy and calm. She was wearing a soft-looking robe, and in the background Ruby could see Gamble, Blake's 3-year-old cat, lounging on the bed in a black furred mound. Like an hour ago, Yang gave a confused shrug and started walking back towards her computer. She looked at the screen and smiled. Hey, Ruby. Ruby, hi. Hi, guys. Can you hear me okay? Ruby lowered her head closer to her laptop in case her microphone wasn't picking her up clearly. She saw in the view of herself that she was framed too low, so tilted the top of her laptop further back. Okay, I might need to actually stop reading for a second so I can fight this thing. Or else I'm gonna get owned. Even though it's on the easiest difficulty, I still don't wanna die. A 2-hour stream of reading fanfic. First one's about coronavirus. Oh my god, I hate this fucking level. Pretty sure more spawn want to destroy all these power cores. Now back to the comic I was reading. That's Valentine. I think I just closed it. No. I need to go back a page. Team RWBY in quarantine. There it is. I opened it back up. Hi. Blah 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 blah. Yep, sound great. Yang picked her up her computer, giving the other two team members a shaky, pixelated view of her stomach for a few seconds before she readjusted the view. She was now sitting cross-legged on her bed. Anyway, I think my plant is dead. Well, you can't expect it to improve in only an hour. Is it getting enough light? It should be. Yang was looking off camera towards where the window was. I usually get light all day from that window. Maybe I just wasn't meant to be a plant mom. She sipped from her coffee, then placed it on a nightstand to her right. Where's Weiss? She's late again. Ruby looked at the area of her skin that was still black. She'll probably be... The quiet boop boop sounded again. There she is. A moment later, the final part of Ruby's screen lit up with a large image of Weiss's profile picture. Along with the video came a loud rustling, very loud cursing, idiotic, stupid poly design. Weiss, hey! Ruby, hi. Hi everyone, sorry I'm late. This stupid computer never does anything right. And I can only bury Weiss, we can't see you. Only your microphone is on. You need to turn on your camera. 2 comments. Go back to the YouTube video. Hey Penny! Just reading RWBY fanfic. First one's about Team RWBY in quarantine. So fun times. While I'm trying to get all the solo trophies. And I'm dead. Again. Okay, so go back to that one. No, that's the Valentine's one. Ah, the quarantine one. Oh, what? Oh, how do I do that? There was more rustling, and then a view of Weiss's chest filled the final quarter of RWBY's screen. She was wearing a loose blue shirt, and now dropped a little low. Is it working now? Sure is, Ice Princess, Yang chuckled. Nice pajamas. What are you? Oh my goodness. Weiss quickly adjusted her camera so it showed her face. Her cheeks were a dull red. Shut up, Yang. Behind her was a large, sparsely furnished bedroom, immaculately organized. Ruby thought it a little funny that everyone's rooms were so neat. When they had been a beacon together, it had seemed like there had been an argument about cleanliness and dirty clothes every other day. Usually between Weiss and Yang. She attributed the changes to the quarantine. Yang smirked in responses to Weiss's embarrassment and took another sip of her coffee. Alright, Ruby, we're all here. Take it away, team leader. Now to go back to the game. And my food. You know, gotta multitask, gotta play a game, gotta read fanfic, and gotta eat. Can't do all of it.
According to my map of the lab, this room contains more processing equipment for his...
I'm gonna deal with this room first, and then I'll continue the fanfic. Because this room is cancer. Go away, explodey boys. There's one destroyed. I'm gonna die again, I'm gonna die again. That's 2 vats destroyed. Reason why I've stopped, because it spawns nothing but explodey guys that fuck up my day badly. Last thing I want to deal with is these guys non-stop spawning. Oh, her counter's so bad, it makes me dash towards them. I need more health on Ruby. Now it seems more manageable. Let us go back to the... It's the third one. I gotta remember it's the third one. Okay. Ruby sat up, cleared her throat, and said with playful dramaticism, "We now commence the 4th quarantine meeting of Team RWBY. We will now take attendance." "Is this really necessary every time?" groaned Weiss, sitting her head on her wrist. "Is it? What? It is, Weiss." "Here, obviously." Weiss lazily waved her hand at the camera. "This was only barely funny the first time." "Great. Blake?" "Present." Blake gave a small wave, playing along. "Fantastic, Yang." Yang saluted stiffly and kept a straight face. "I am here, team leader." Good on you. Attendance has now been recorded. Begin the meeting." Ruby held her pose for a second longer and slouched back to her normal position. "So how are you guys holding up?" Blake answered first. "Not terribly bad." She reached off screen and pulled a steaming mug to her lips. "I've had lots of time to catch up on my reading. On some shows. Blake had been laid off last week. The restaurant she worked in had decided to close until things calmed down. Been cooking a lot, playing with Gamble." She reached back and scratched the cat between the ears. He thanked her with a quiet purr. "Could be worse, though I do miss being able to go out, even though I would usually prefer to stay home. A bit upset that I no longer have the option." "Yeah, same." Yang brushed her hands through her hair, but the yellow tangle didn't move. "I feel a little trapped in here." Ruby knew Yang's apartment was pretty small. She had chosen a studio to save money. "I just want to go to the gym, lift some weights, go to a movie." She turned and looked out her window. It doesn't help that this hit just when the weather was changing. Just makes me want to go out even more. I agree. Weiss was slowly swiveling back in her chair back and forth. "This time of the year is perfect for getting brunch and eating on a patio, but the police are stopping everybody. They even stopped winter. She closed her eyes. I'd give anything for a breakfast omelette and a mimosa from that cafe on 13th Street. Stop! You're making me hungry. I haven't been able to get eggs in 2 weeks. Really? We haven't had any trouble for food. For some reason, we can't find toilet paper anywhere. How about you, Ruby? Blake asked. How are you feeling? Oh my god, two of these guys are so much fucking difficulty. Oh my god, fuck off! Just die! Oh, thank god. Ruby thought for a moment, reflecting on the past few weeks. Weiss and Yang had kept talking about breakfast food while she collected her thoughts. I'm actually pretty stressed, the others paused. I mean, we're all stressed, right? And I have less to complain about than you guys. Ruby was weathering the quarantine working from her father's house. I still have my job, I'm not living alone, and I'm not trapped in the center of the epidemic like Weiss. But this stupid virus is in my head all the time. It's all that's on the news. I have to turn it off because it's just a constantly rising number of deaths. I feel guilty every time I go outside. What if I'm giving the virus to the person I just passed? What if they give it to me? What if I pass it on to Dad? He's in okay shape, but he's still close to the risk zone. What if I made a mistake coming here? While I'm still working, I don't know how long the company can take it. Business slowed way down as soon as the quarantine started. And I don't know when it's all going to end. It's spreading so fast and people still aren't taking it seriously. It's terrible already and it's going to get worse and worse. I'm worried. I'm just so worried about so much. I'm worried about Dad. I'm worried about you guys. Ruby could feel tears welling around the corners of her eyes. Oh, Ruby, Blake said softly. You really don't need to worry so much. Really? You're doing exactly the best you can. Yes, sis. You're staying home, only going out for essentials. That's what you're supposed to be doing. Yang gave her camera a warm smile. Just gotta wash your hands and keep those spirits up. Okay, now I gotta get back to this. It's 2 grenade pricks. Thinking they can show me what's what. You missed. Okay, back to where I was up to. Weiss shifted in her chair, so she was closer to the computer. Yeah, and something that has really struck me is how the entire world is working on this together. People are making masks at home, donating food, money, volunteering. Even my father, who was one of those idiots who denied the severity in the beginning, is switching to a bunch of our factories to making ventilators and masks. I'm sure he's enforcing the distancing guidelines. Wow, Weiss, nice job, Yang gave the same thumbs up. That's our Ice Queen. Just shut up, Yang. And Ruby, Blake said, if you're ever feeling overwhelmed, or even just a little stressed, just give us a call. I'll pick up every time, I promise. A thin, sardonic smile started to pull at her cheeks. It's not like I have a lot going on right now. I'd be happy for the company, if you can call it that. Yang nodded. You know, me neither. Not really all that busy. I wake up, check a few emails, and then kind of chill the rest of the day. I'm going to work out in my room later. We could have a virtual workout session. Want to join? How about you, Ice Queen? Well, unlike you two, I'm still busy most of the day, but that doesn't mean you can't talk to me anytime. Ruby, I've been missing you a lot. All of you, really. When this is all over, we should meet up again. Maybe go somewhere together. Blake sighed. That would be nice, but we've got a long way to go before then, so everybody be careful, wash your hands, wear a mask, and stay home as much as you can, and call anytime you need to. Yang mock saluted again. Aye aye, Blakey. She lowered her arm and her face became more serious, but to be honest, you guys, I'm really glad that we have these check-ins. They've seriously helped with my cabin fever. I always feel better when we're done talking. It's great to see my baby sister, Blake's lovely sarcastic smile, and of course Weiss's blush. Hey! Anyway, who's coming on with the workout? Ruby snickered and raised her hand. I am, definitely. Blake nodded as well. Me too. Weiss. Well, the rest of you are fine. I will too. Yay, happy to have you, Ice Queen. Shut up. Ruby felt a warmth spreading on her chest. Thanks, guys. I feel a lot better now. I think that's all for this meeting, though. When's the workout, Yang? Let's say 3 o'clock. Some people aren't so full from lunch. Sounds good. So I'll see you guys at 3 then. Goodbye. Take care of yourselves. That's it. Bye-bye, guys. Be safe. Blake's screen went black as she closed her app. Bye. See you soon. White hung up. Talk to you later, sis. Yang's screen disappeared. Ruby sat back in the chair, smiling. Friends made everything better, she thought to herself. For the first time since the quarantine had started, she felt reassured about the situation. It wouldn't be easy, but she and the others would get through it, like Blake said. Holy shit. She'd just have to keep doing what she could. She stood up from her desk, closed her laptop and went to her dresser. She'd have to find exercise clothes for the workout later. Finished. Oh wow. Nice, Benny. Okay, that's the first fanfiction of the night. I've actually got to eat something now. And, you know, there's some enemies. Because I was doing all of that while not looking at the screen. Because I didn't want to fuck up a single word on the fanfiction. Funny enough, there ain't many ships. Like, I was scrolling through fanfiction.net and I didn't see many actual, like, shipping fanfictions. There's a lot of crossovers, not many shipping ones. I guess I'll find them soon. I gotta find the lemons. Actually, no, I don't gotta find the lemons. Lemons is too far, I gotta find the things before the lemons. I haven't actually read or seen fanfiction.net in a long time. I think the last time I was even close to reading something on fanfiction.net, I was like 13, 14. Now I'm like 21. Because I was one of the nerds that used to write fanfiction. I was okay at it. I wasn't the best. Kept criticizing my work every sentence. Okay, so pausing doesn't pause the game. That's gonna fucking suck. Okay. Then what's Oscar X Penny's ship name is? I am unsure of that. Oh boy, here we go. I just found another fanfic and the first line is, and here it is, the enabler story no one asks for. But here it is anyways. Oh boy. Okay. Intoxicated by a midnight milkshake. For team night, Yang had gotten 6 bottles of wine, 3 of which she already had drunk, to get totally wasted. Off of Blake, Ruby and Weiss had only collectively drunk 1 box of wine. Yang, to no one's surprise, was already drunk off her ass. Oh fuck, I'm gonna die. Where is it? Yang, to no one's surprise, was already drunk off her ass. Yang was lying face down on the floor, snoring lightly, while the other 3 teammates engaged in friendly conversation. Ruby started rambling on and on about how Crescent Rose was the best weapon out of everyone's. No one really cared enough to refute Ruby's claims. Suddenly, someone's hands had gone over Ruby's eyes. Guess who? Yang slurred out from behind Ruby. Yang, what are you doing? Aw, how'd you know? Just a lucky guess, Ruby said, trying to amuse her drunken sister. Ooh, I have an idea. Let's play spin the bottle, Yang said enthusiastically. Everyone but Yang had a hint of blush on their faces, Weiss blushing the most. Sure, Ruby managed to stutter out. Well, if Ruby is doing it, then I will too, Weiss said, looking at the floor. That's adorable. Fine, was all Blake had to say. They were on the floor with the bottle in front of them. Yang had seemingly gotten from out of nowhere. Okay, Blake, your turn, Yang said. Blake pushed the bottle and spun it around and around. Where is it? I need to scroll down. Oh, wow, that's real small. I really didn't need... That's gonna be... Okay. Bottle and spun it round and round until it stopped on Yang. Oh my god. Blake leaned over and gave Yang a quick peck on the cheek and pulled back, blushing immensely. Ruby was up next, so she gave the bottle a good push before covering eyes with her hands, hoping to end the suspense of the game. Ruby looked through her fingers just in time to... Just in time to see the bottle stop pointing to her sister Yang. She looked at Weiss and Blake. They looked back expectantly. "I can't kiss her, she's my sister," Ruby said, the blush creeping up on her face. Just then, Yang's hand reached out and twisted Ruby's head towards her own and smashed their lips together. Ruby felt her sister's tongue up against her lips. I'm trying to censor this as much as I can. If it gets too far, then I'll just say redacted or blank, blank, and blank, blank. Without thinking, Ruby allowed Yang's tongue inside her mouth. Oh my god, this is just wrong. Ruby moaned as she felt Yang's tongue explore her mouth. I can't believe I'm still reading this. The feeling was as intoxicating as the wine Yang had been drinking.
Don't be shy, students.
Yang's tongue tasted fruity from all the wine. Ruby started to run her hands up into Yang's shirt when a loud cough brought her back into reality. Ruby broke away from the kiss and could feel her face starting to redden at an extreme rate. "I have to use the bathroom," Ruby whispered. Quickly as Ruby could, she flung herself into the bathroom and slamming the door shut behind her. What had just happened and why it happened, Ruby thought. What was wrong? Was it wrong that she liked it? Ruby decided to save herself some dignity and laid down one of the towels to sleep on. Next day, Ruby got prepared, ignored her teammates, and ran as fast as she could out the door for classes. Oh, I'm glad Penny left before I fucking finished intoxicated. That was some dangerous shit. It's gonna be a long Deathstalker fight. That's RWBY Valentine's and RWBY Relationship Week. We're going to, next, I will be reading RWBY Valentine's by King Leomon 13. Does not say when it was published. But I will wait for people to come back because there is no point. There is no point reading these stories if nobody's watching. Besides, I have food to eat, so you know. Food. There's a lot of food I need to eat right now. I still got Nora. Nora's an easier, easier one to equip to deal with a Deathstalker. This is practically an audio stream. The video is just gonna be me fighting monsters and reading fan fiction. I don't even know if killing this Deathstalker will get me the achievement. I hope it will. I don't want to do the whole campaign. Because most of it will just be me looking at a wall. Slowly killing this mutant Deathstalker. Piece by piece by piece.
He's looking hungry. Now he'll savor your taste as I savor my food.
Worst case scenario, I have to waste a lot of credit streaming
To like him when he's angry.
at the end of this month.
Those powerful pincers.
next fanfiction will be read shortly, within the next couple minutes. After I kill this white cannon dude. This has been a long Monday. A nice Monday. I hadn't had to work today, luckily. I'm happy about that. Okay, I did promise I'd start reading the next fanfiction. Okay. Ruby Valentines by King Leomon 13. Ruby Valentines. Here we go. Ruby was lying on her bed, holding a card, flowers, and a box of chocolates in the shape of a heart. And she was terrified about what she was about to do. She'd been trying to think of a way to ask twice all week, but couldn't come up with anything, and she was beginning to think it was hopeless. Oh, this is a white rose one. This is adorable. Here we go. Ruby was lying. Yeah. She let a groan. Oh, she'd been trying to think of a way to ask twice all week, but couldn't come up with anything, and she was beginning to think it was hopeless. She let out a groan just as someone opened the door. They promptly scrambled up to the bed and said, "Hey sis, what's up?" Ruby turned to see her sunny sister Yang and replied, "Yang, I can't think of any way to ask Weiss to go on a date with me. I mean, I doubt she likes girls. Even if she did, why would she like me? Oh. Oh, hi Penny. You missed the Enabler fanfiction. Lucky you. It was bad. It was really bad. It was... as all Enabler ones are. Okay. Back to the White Rose one. Wait, you want to ask our resident Ice Queen on a date? Why? She asked cockingly, turning her head to the side. Because she's so nice and pretty and elegant, and she has an amazing voice, and she's smart, and she has all the things I'm not. Oh my god, is this just John? Just written as Ruby. Are you sure we're talking about the same person here? Yang, she cries exasperated. Alright, but Ruby, you're pretty and smart and all that other stuff in your own way, and if she can't see that, then she's blind. You know, except your singing voice, please don't try to serenade her. Ruby blushed and said, "Yeah, I know, I can't sing, okay?" Her face cleared up. "So what are you and Blake going to do?" Yang smiled her usual cocky smile. "Me and Kitty Cat are going out for a night on the town." "Well, have fun. I'm going to mope here for a bit longer." "You know, you're going to have to bite the bullet sooner or later, and it should be sooner." I wonder if this is set before Volume 3 or not. I hope it's not. She gave her sister a hug, and as she climbed down and left the room. She lied there for a bit longer before getting up, and she opened and turned down the hallway. She saw John walking up it with his guitar and asked, "Hey John, you got a date for Valentine's yet?" "Oh, please don't. Please." Oh no. "Hey Ruby, not yet, but I'm about to ask her." He turned and knocked on the door to his room. When it opened and he saw Pyrrha, he started playing and sang, "Pyrrha, will you allow me to take you to a restaurant tonight?" Pyrrha was smiling so hard by the end of it, it almost looked like it was hurting her face. She grabbed John, pulled him into the room and slammed the door. When very questionable sounds started to come from the room, Ruby promptly left. She wandered the halls until she found herself at the cafeteria. When she walked in there weren't many people. The only ones that she knew were Team Coffee, were Team Coffee. She walked over to where they were sitting with Fox and Yatsuhashi on one side and Velvet and Coco sitting quiet to each other on the other. As she got closer, Velvet noticed her and said, "Ruby, good morning. Did you need something?" "Morning, Velvet. I was actually wondering if you guys had seen Weiss." "Oh yeah, I saw her heading towards the library." She raised her left hand, which was intertwined with Coco's, to point where when she realized what she did, she blushed harder than she ever had before, and put their hands back down. Coco smirked at how red she got and said, "Thanks, and good luck, Ruby." Ruby made her way to the library, but once she got there, she couldn't find Weiss and left. After leaving, she saw, sorry, the grammar's all over the place in this one. After she was leaving, she saw Nora and Ren walking, or more accurately, Nora was dragging Ren along. "Hey guys, what are you doing?" Ruby is a cute bunny rabbit. Which one? Oh yeah. Nora stopped and was beaming as she said, "Ren and I are going on a date." That's great. Have you seen Weiss?" "Nope. How about you, Ren?" "Sorry, Ruby, I haven't seen her either." "That's okay. Thanks anyway, and have fun on your date." Ruby continued to search the entire school, but couldn't find her, nor hair of Weiss. Eventually, she found herself in the courtyard, sitting on a bench depressed. She let out a huge sigh, as someone from behind her said, "Ruby, is something wrong?" "No, it's just that I've been searching all over for Weiss and I can't find her." The person cleared their throat and said, "Well, maybe you should turn around." Ruby was confused until it dawned on her She quickly turned around and saw Weiss standing behind her with a smile. She smiled a bit back, scratched the back of her head, and said, Hey, Weiss. "So why have you been looking for me, Ruby?" "Oh, well, there was something I wanted to ask you." And it suddenly dawned on her that she had left all the stuff she was going to give to Weiss on her bed, and she began to panic. If you just give me a moment, I need to go get something from the room." Wait, what was it you wanted to ask me?" "Well, Ruby, just calm down. It's okay. Take deep breaths." She slowed down and took a few deep breaths and said, "Thanks, Weiss." "You're welcome. Now, what did you want to ask?" "Come on, give me the tail. Give me the tail, give me the tail." There we go. I wonder who else is watching besides you, Penny. Well, I had some things I wanted to give you, but as well, but I left them in the room, and now I have no way to ask you to go out with me. She was quiet for a moment before she realized what she said. Then she blushed, a bright red, and hid her hood of nearly the same color. Weiss let out a small smile and softly said, "You dolt, did you ever just think to ask?" "Truth is, I've been trying to think of a way to ask you out too." "Really?" Weiss flicked her nose and said, "Yes, I have, but I guess I don't need to anymore since you asked me." "So where are we going?" "Well, I was thinking maybe we could go to that new bakery in town." They continued the conversation as they left the courtyard holding hands and both wearing huge smiles. The end. That was Ruby Valentine. That one was adorable. Now it's Ruby Relationship Week. Oh, for fuck's sake! I just tried so hard killing that monster. By myself. Video games. If you're not giving it 100%, you might as well just give up. My apologies, I'm just getting more fan fictions ready. And need to eat some food. I'm starving. Good food. Oh yeah, this was a thing. Done. A little respec. My bad, Penny. Okay, now on to the next one. RWBY Relationship Week. It was a normal day at Beacon Academy, and that means classes were in session. Students of every year were in their classrooms learning the information they would need after graduation, in their grueling lives as hunters and huntresses. Hey, Weiss, you just missed the White Rose comic, and an Enabler comic. And whatever the hell the first one was. Oh, Quarantine one, that's right. Anyways, Team RWBY and their friends in Team Juniper, along with several other groups of first years, were currently in the sparring room for Beacon's version of physical education, Duels. Oh wait, I gotta buy these. Next up, Yang Xiaolong versus Lai Ren. Glinda Goodwitch announced. Her voice amplified so everyone in the large room could hear her. Ren stood up and slid out past Nora, who was engrossed in the newest issue of X-Ray and Vav that Jawn had let her borrow. He started walking towards the locker room so he could change out of his school uniform into his combat clothes and grab his twin SMGs out of the locker that was assigned to him. There were no other footsteps. Glinda looked at her scroll, waiting for the sound of footfalls that would indicate the other contestant was moving. Yang, come on, you need to wake up. You are up. Glinda heard this loudly whispered from somewhere behind her. Sighing, she turned around to see RWBY was shaking her sister's shoulder. The older girl was fast asleep while Blake merely read a book and Weiss looked at the blonde with annoyance. Pulling out her wand, Glinda pointed it at the brawler and levitated her a foot off the ground before dropping her back into the seat. This first-year student jumped to her feet with a start, head wildly turning as she looked around the room. "I'm up. What's happening?" she reflectively said, used to being suddenly woken up during class. "So good of you to rejoin us, Mrs. Xiaolong. Miss Xiaolong. Would you like to go and get ready for your bout, or will you try and sleep for the victory?" Glinda sarcastically asked, peering over the glasses at the blonde, who had started to calm down. "No, I'll go get ready, Miss Goodwitch," the purple-eyed fighter replied, hurrying past her team so she could get to the locker room. "Miss Xiaolong, would you stay after class? I would like to have a word with you." It was worded like a question, but Glinda's tone left no doubt that it wasn't a request, but an order. "Of course, Miss Goodwitch," Yang replied before she disappeared out of the classroom in time in the locker room to get her equipment. "That's all the time we have in class. Remember, students, you must hone..." Oh, wait. So the duel ensues, blah blah blah. They haven't actually written the duel at all. It just cuts to the next section. "That's all the time we have in class. Remember, students, you must hone your skills. Outside of the safety of the kingdoms, there is no one to stop the fight if you are losing. If you fall, you will die," Glinda called out. Her voice serious as she looked around all the students heading out to the next class. The air in the room became somber as they took her words to heart, knowing that it was the Grimm truce that they chose when they came to this school. Osmond may say they are still children, but they are the future of our world. They have to face the reality of that role. The burden they must bear is a heavy one. And coddling them will not do them any favours. "You wanted to have a word with me, Miss Goodwitch?" Yang asked her tentatively. Breaking Glinda from her thoughts, she looked over at the student. She asked, had to wait till behind. The blonde was playing with her hair, the telltale sign that she was nervous. "Yes, I did, Miss Xiaolong. I wanted to discuss your lack of focus in the class." I swear, Miss Goodwitch, it won't happen again. Enough, Yang. This isn't the first time you've fallen asleep in my class, or not been paying enough attention. It has to stop. You aren't in a regular combat school, you're in one of the most prestigious academies. The fact that you're accepted means you have the talent, but you must work for it. Life will not always be training and classes. One day soon, you will have nothing but your skill and training to protect you and everyone you care for. Glinda finished talking, looking at her scroll and pulling up Yang's records, while the other girls stared at the floor in silence. The teacher scanned through the blonde's brawler transcript, and it was a moment before Glinda looked back out. "Can I go now, Miss Goodwitch?" Yang asked quietly, either thinking about what the teacher said, or her shutting out. "One more moment, Miss Xiaolong, then you can go," Glinda replied, adjusting the glasses before speaking. "You have an enormous amount of potential, Yang. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. You're a talented huntress, but you could do better if you only applied yourself. I've seen the security footage from the breach incident, and Professor Oobleck has informed Ozpin and myself on how you and your team handled yourselves. I'm not punishing you, Yang, or even scolding you. I only want to see you push yourself and make the most out of your potential." "Thank you, Miss Goodwitch," the purple girl replied. After a moment, contemplating the things that her teacher had told her. "You can go now. Remember what I told you." "I will." Yang started leaving the classroom, a smile on her face and a new fire lit inside her. Glinda smiled as she watched the blonde-haired student walk away. Her shoulders set and her head held high, a new sense of determination. The harsh reality is that coddling them will only make them weak, and in this world, weakness is punished with death and despair. They must be prepared. One second. I must be... what was I up to? Prepared for the world outside of this academy, where they become hunters. Inspiration, though, is a gift that can be given to any of them, so long as they are willing to work. They are the future of our world, but with determination and the right inspiration, our future is in safe hands. I don't know what that was about relationships, but weird. The fanfic is adorably wholesome. I'm gonna look for another one soon. I've actually run out of fanfics. And I've got food, and I've got to kill a fucking Deathstalker. So, you know. Goals. Did I just get owned? I did just get owned. Motherfucker. I got bad language. I'm setting it to the rating of teen, because I don't want to end up, like, clicking through and I'm just finding smut. I actually want, like, actual good stories, not just sex, or depression. So it's taking me a little bit to find good ones. Also, apologies to anybody that's getting hungry. I'm eating. Roses are white. Wow. Let's read that one. Wow, there's actually one here called "The gun is good, the penis is evil." That's hilarious. Saint Ruby. No. 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 Might have to go to M rating to get all the Okay, let's go to M for the adorable ships. Oh, it's an SFW ship, one shot of ship Argos. Let's read that. Okay, yeah, no, that one's not suitable for talking on a stream. RWBY one-shots. Nope. If you only could see what I'm reading. Also, is anyone still here? Or am I by myself? Now to read this one. Can't read that one either. I have to go back to the teen rating. This is irritating. I'm just finding smut. I don't know how RWBY reacts to that. This is smut! Smut! I'm not done reading it. Why is Penny still there? Oh no, Penny hasn't come back. Yep. I have found one. Hopefully it is not. Aha! I got a good one. A good right Rose one. Okay. RWBY Rose sits at a small circular table newly installed in a dorm room at Beacon Academy. RWBY, setting her mood, RWBY wears a lengthy scarlet dress, patterned to leave an impression of RWBY's namesake. She looks across the table, lit by a single candle, to see a slender, feminine figure, radiant in her snowy dress. RWBY felt both a sense of fear, as her dress, an embodiment of rose petals, paled in comparison, but also a rush of excitement, as a person so graceful, so powerful, so beautiful, chose to spend the time with her. RWBY slowly drinks the surrounding air. For as much as she trusts her current company, the aura of familiarity still forces a rush alienation. As she breathes, the power aroma of mustard and poppy seeds fill her mouth. The mustard jolts her from the daze, forcing her attention to a silver platter before her. RWBY grins at the thought of her dinner. A dish featuring chicken and diced apples, covered in a yellowish sauce, covered in small, red dots. RWBY grabs her fork, glancing elegantly to her snowy date. Eagerly. The woman grabs a crystal glass, partly filled, with a liquid of deep garnet. Nodding her head in approval, Ruby cuts off a slice of the chicken, bringing it, as well as an apple, to her mouth. I love it! Ruby grabs her Weiss lifts... fuck, I'm losing my place in the story. Weiss lifts her glass, taking a small drink of its contents. Thank you. I was a little worried that I didn't make the sauce right. I remember that my mother would make this for me for special occasions back home. Now, I'm glad I get to share it with you. Though, I have to ask, what are you doing? It's a red wine from here in Vale, my mother recommended. How did you... Ruby, I have my ways. Weiss winked as she interrupted her date. However, the two girls' privacy suddenly disappeared as Yang bursted through the room's door, with Blake tailing her. Hello there, Ice Queen. Yang, what are you and Blake doing here? Well, Blake and I decided to celebrate just a little bit with you two. After all, Ruby is my sister, and Weiss are close enough. So we each made a poem for you two. Don't worry, it won't take long. Don't worry, here I go. When you first met, I feared our dear queen, encased in ice with a glistening sheen. Yet at that chill, my sis did not fret. Seems I lost the bet. See, that's not painful. That was interesting. Blake, you're up. Alright. A bright ruby gem glistening in fields of snow. A loving hero. No. A bright ruby gem glistening in fields of snow. A loving heroes. See, it wasn't that bad now, was it? I didn't expect that. Now I asked the two of you to leave us alone. Blake quietly disappeared, clearly wanting to be anywhere but there. But Yang decided to stay and tease her sister some more. Aw, my little sister wants to be alone with her beloved Ice Queen. How adorable. Yang, please. Alright, have fun you two. With her final words, Yang turned and strided out of the room. Weiss released a sigh, easing her now tense shoulders. She stole a glance at Ruby as she sipped from the wine glass, staring back at her. Ruby mirrored Weiss's actions, except instead of expensive red wine, she drank simple milk. Ruby, I hope you never change. The end.
Those powerful I'm going to punish you, pitiful pupil.
I haven't gotten further than halfway on this boss and it's ridiculous.
He's hungry. No doubt he'll savor your taste as I savor my...
Sadus Ruby failed, lol. Wow. I don't want to read this one. Wow, that was a real stupid one. Okay, where's the next one? I need another... Ruby MILF? What the fuck? Akali and Yang ship. No way. Wow. I didn't think that one was a thing, but okay. Scrolling through. Let's go to page 3 since I've already seen all of page 2. Page 3. Come on, computer. Thank you. Christmas one shot with who in it? It has no, it's not saying. Avenge of the Fallen, 4 Beacon, Crimson trailer. Oh, I'm sick and tired of scrolling through and just saying, oh, my OC this, my OC that, my OC this, my OC that. Oh, the team wilts. Oh, that's a good one. RWBY Forever Fall. Let's read this one. It was always the wolves that John couldn't stand. Ever since he was a kid, he always hated Beowulfs and their piercing red eyes. His grandfather had told him stories of the war, stories of brave heroes fighting frightening monsters, Nevermores, Deathstalkers, Ursa Majors, Bloodhounds. None of these bothered John so much as the Beowulfs. John tightened the grip on his sword and stared the pack leader in the eye. The Alpha stood its ground. Several of his pack behind him and the rest flanking around. John closed his eyes. One second. Where am I up to? John closed his eyes and knelt down on one knee, focusing his aura. Now was not the time for running from childhood fears. Pyrrha needed him. His team needed him. Time to step up and be the leader he was meant to be. The Alpha growled low and then barked, its white teeth glimmering in the dark red dusk of the Forever Fall. With a fearsome howl, the pack leader leapt towards John all at once. The pack leapt. Fangs flashing, claws bared. John took a deep breath and time seemed to slow. He looked up at the pack leader and pointed his sword at it. You're last. The wolves hit him, a massive fur and armored pile of grim flesh, with John somewhere at the bottom. The Alpha sniffed and yipped, confident in its victory, when suddenly a blade pierced the beta. With a concentration of white aura, John stood. Wisps of white smoke and energy encircled him, twining around his body, casing the young man in ethereal armor. The Beowulf stood and growled at the bright enemy. John grinned and with wide eyes disappeared. Wolves began collapsing with vicious blade wounds. 16 seconds later the Omega fell, its throat cut and armor hewn from its back. John stood, grim blood evaporating on his aura, and smiled on the Alpha. Now you. The Alpha almost grinned and leapt at John. John knelt and braced for the impact, and the wolf bounced off his shield, but it didn't stop, and in the blink of an eye, the Alpha was behind John, biting at the blind spot. John turned and slashed, hitting air. This wolf was faster than the others. Much faster. Yeah. The Alpha almost... Yeah, the wolf and John both retreated, putting distance between them. John slowed his breathing, closed his eyes, remembering Pyrrha's rooftop training. Quickly his mind turned to their other rooftop activities. Their first picnic, the look in their eyes as she laughed, her smile at his clumsiness, the roughness she used to push him to his limits, the gentleness she showed when he reached and surpassed them, and their first kiss. John leapt. The wolf bared its fangs and went for the throat. The wolf fell in front of John, their head a few short paces behind him. John breathed easy. The battle was won, and he collapsed his shield, sheathed his sword inside of it. I wish Pyrrha had seen that. Suddenly John was sitting on the forest floor, his shoulder hurting from the blow that knocked him down. Pyrrha sat next to him. I saw the whole thing. John looked surprised as he stared at her. How are you here? Where is the dragon? Pyrrha smiled and brushed his arm. I knew you were strong, now you know too. I always believed in you, John. Her red hair, John suddenly realized, was unbound and free. Pyrrha never wore her hair down. Pyrrha, he started, before her fingers touched his lips, shushing him. John, that fight, you had a lot of powerful motivation behind your actions. What was it? He searched her green eyes, trying to figure out what he was missing. It was you. I'm nothing without you. You helped me when no one else would. You were there, and you loved me. John laughed. I was never good with the ladies. I never understood how lucky I was enough to have you. John looked over at Pyrrha. Her cheeks were wet. He reached out to brush her tears away, but shook her head. Pyrrha, what's going on? What's wrong? John, you don't remember? John answered. John's expression answered for him. John, the dragon attacked 3 days ago. No. He looked down his shoulder. There was a bright red gash and blood dripping. John plucked a giant tooth from the wound. No, 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 John. No, 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 Ren. Nor are we. No. We died, John. John's mind shattered. 100 dead beasts around him. He was stained in blood from head to toe. At the top of the pile of carcasses was the body of the dragon. Nora and Ren were gone. Pyrrha was gone. He had failed. His team was dead, and he had failed. John's screams echoed in the dark. He was alone. Before he awoke to the campfire. Seems he had a nightmare. When he was on guard, he fell asleep. His teammates surrounding him, and he was once reminded about the fall of Beacon. The love he lost. The end. Oh, that was depressing. Oh boy, that was depressing. That last bit. Actually, no, that whole, like, second half. Close, forever fall. Here we go. That was a satisfyingly dark fucking comic. Or fanfic. You guessed it, Weiss. Romantic horror fanfic. I didn't actually expect it to, like, I was just reading and I'm like, oh no, please no, and then I was reading down, it's like, oh no, it gets worse. Now, this one will be quite long, because it is several chapters on fanfiction.net, which means it is like over 10,000 words. The ones I've been reading are about 500 to 1,000 at most. This is from the viewpoint of Blank, in Team Wilts, by Knight of the Void. Come on, the White Fang must be around here somewhere, thought Blake as she jumped into another tree. It had been 3 weeks since she had set out from Beacon. She was no closer to finding the terrorists than when she had started. She was starting to believe that this tip that they had received was false. Blake Belladonna, ran the voice of Glinda Goodwitch, through the hall. Blake looked up from her book to see the Huntress Professor standing in the doorway of the hall. Ruby looked up to her. Uh-oh, said Ruby. This usually means something bad. She turned to look at Blake. What did you do? She asked. Blake simply ignored her, set her book down and approached her. Her hands clapped down her front. Yes, ma'am? She asked. The professor gazed down at her through the glasses perched on her nose, her piercing green eyes judging, almost sizing her up. Professor Ozpin would like a word with you. He asks you to meet him in his office. She stated in her curt tone, hands behind her back. Blake looked back at her table, where Ruby and Weiss were sitting still. Ruby was catching what was going on, staring at them with her big silver eyes full of curiosity. Weiss either didn't know what was going on. 1 second. I'm trying to find. What? Weiss either didn't know what was going on or didn't care. All her attention focused on the paper in front of her. Blake turned back to Glinda. Alright then, I'll go. She finally answered. Glinda nodded and turned to leave. I suggest that you go to his office swiftly. It is not in your best interest to leave the headmaster waiting. What is this, fucking Hogwarts now? Blake expected Professor Osmond's office to be grand, but then she was taken aback by the sheer size of it. The room took up an entire floor at the top of one of the towers at the school.
Hungry. No doubt you'll savor your taste as I savor my...
A massive desk of rich dark wood sat at the far side of the room, and 3 of the walls were lined up from floor to ceiling with books. The entire 4th wall behind the desk was a massive window which looked out onto the grounds of Beacon. It was there that Professor Osborne was standing. Leaning on his cane, Blake stood in the doorway, unsure of what she should do next. Blake Belladonna, said Osborne finally, still facing the window. Have a seat. He gestured with his cane towards his desk, where 2 plush armchairs stood in front of it. Blake slowly crossed the lush carpet and sat down. Admiring the library, are you? Asked the headmaster. Blake looked down at her feet. She had not realized it, but she had been gazing longingly at the books that filled the room. It's just that there are so many interesting books you have, she said politely. Some of them look very old. Indeed, some of them are, he replied, finally turning to face her. He calmly walked back to his desk and sat down behind it, his brown eyes focused on Blake, but getting to the point. I've asked you here because I have a special task for you. Blake nodded silently. It was usually Glinda that gave Team RWBY its missions, so receiving one from the headmaster himself must be important. Osborne took a remote from his desk and pressed a button on it. The massive window behind him darkened and lit up again, but with a white background. Blake blinked. The window was also a huge screen. I trust you've heard of the White Fang organization, said Osborne as he turned his chair to face the screen. He pressed another button. A logo of some sort appeared, the head of some beast in red with big claw marks slashed right through it. Blake averted her eyes slightly. Only what's in the news, she replied. They're a faunus activist group that has recently taken on a violent nature due to their protests, and society has branded them as terrorists and thugs. The professor gave a nod of approval. You seem to know quite a lot about them. Blake now directed her full attention. Osborne took a sip from his mug and pushed his small glasses further up his nose. The government is keeping information about this organization secret from the public, so not to cause civil unrest. A few months ago, it was discovered that the White Fang members have been raiding supply trains, carrying cargo from the Schnee Dust Company. Blake's back straightened a bit at the mention of Weiss's family name. Her teammate had already told her about the White Fang's secret war with their family's company. She had known about the organization's perspective from her time as a member. Osborne hit another button on the remote, and the screen changed into a map. The government has labelled the White Fangs as terrorists, but because they want to keep the public from knowing, they cannot get involved. They are requesting Beacon to assist them. Blake was a bit confused by this. Why keep it a secret, she asked. Why not just declare them terrorists and deal with them? Osborne turned his chair back towards Blake and looked at her top of his glasses. I asked them to hold back. Blake raised an eyebrow. Why? Because thanks to you, we know that they have been working with Roman Torchwick. Blake's eyes narrowed. Team RWBY had run across Torchwick on a number of occasions, and every time he had managed to get away. Now Blake was starting to see where this was going. "So what is it you need me for?" she asked. "I received a tip from one of my trusted sources that a large population of White Fangs have set up bases somewhere in the Forest of Foreverfall." Another hit of a button caused the map to zoom in on the specified spot on the map. Blake's eyes darted along the screen as she studied it. "The Schnee Dust Company," continued Osborne, "has a railroad that runs through the forest." A wavy line became highlighted on the map. "The White Fangs likely have their operations somewhere set along it. They could be anywhere in the forest." He set the remote down and leaned on the desk, his chin resting on your hands. I'm just going to leave it in the menu. "Since you've arrived at Beacon, you showed exceptional infiltration skills. It is for this reason that I am assigning this mission to you and you alone. Your objective is rather straightforward. Find the White Fangs camp, figure out why they are stealing the Schnee products and what they are doing with them. And above all else, uncover any information about Torchwick." Blake was still studying the map when Osborne finished. She was uneasy about this. Her last few run-ins with the White Fangs since she left hadn't ended well, and she wasn't looking forward to fighting them again. What's more, there were people in the White Fang who would easily recognize her, and then there was him. I think it is Weiss. Despite all this, she still wasn't prepared to reveal her secret to Osborne. She looked at the headmaster. "That forest covers a lot of land. I'm supposed to find them in that alone?" "Yes. The mission of this will likely take a long time. Half a month if you are lucky. I think we both know that the rest of your team's skills are ill-equipped for this type of work." Blake nodded in agreement. Ruby and Weiss could never stay quiet when in close proximity to each other, and Yang would sooner topple the whole forest than sneak around. But there were others who would be up to the task. "True." Well, what about Lyran? He's also good at infiltration." "True, but his skills are geared more towards assassination. Also, we cannot have multiple hunters and huntresses running about without drawing suspicion. We need surprise here, or else Torchwick will disappear again." Blake sighed and nodded her head again. "I understand, sir." "Good," Osborne replies. "You leave tomorrow. I suggest you prepare." At what point do I give up and head back to Beacon? Thought Blake as she spun around on a branch and leapt off it into another tree. She'd searched the forest all around the Schnee Railroad to no avail. She'd even staked out a train until a train passed through. There was no sign of malicious activity. "Do I really have to turn over every single leaf in this stupid..." Her thought was interrupted by a large bang behind her. Gunshot. Blake twisted in the air just as a massive projectile flew past, just missing her. Doing so caused her to smash into the branch she was going to land on. Winded, Blake fell crashing through the tree till she hit the floor, landing on her ankle. Blake winced in pain as she leapt to her feet. At least a sprain, she thought. A fracture if I'm really unlucky. She pulled the bramble shroud off her back and looked up into the tree. Her heart stopped when she found the thing that almost hit her buried in the trunk of the tree. It was a ninjato. A red ninjato? No, it can't be. Well, I never thought it'd be you I'd find sneaking around here," came a voice behind her. Blake turned around and eyes widened. "You." Wilt, Part 2. "Ready?" called Ruby across the arena. Yeah, I'm ready," called John back, taking his scabbard off his belt and pulling his sword out of it. "Alright then, here I come." With that, Ruby yanked Crescent Rose off her back and extended it fully into scythe mode. Pointing it behind her, she hopped into the air as she pulled the trigger. The recoil from the rifle shot sent the massive weapon barreling towards John, carrying Ruby with it. Ruby began spinning in the air, bearing her weapon's massive blade down on John. John gasped a bit, barely managing to extend his scabbard into a shield and bringing it between himself and the scythe blade. The impact from Crescent Rose knocked John off his feet as he flew a few yards, landing on his back. You okay? Called RWBY. John quickly scrambled to his feet, going into his defensive stance. Yeah, I'm fine. I did tell you not to go easy, right? Yeah, cause I'm not done yet. RWBY brought Crescent Rose around and pointed the gun barrel directly at John. Without hesitation, she slammed the bolt action into place and fired. Oh my god, I just realized I was muted. How much of that was I just saying muted? What was the last bit I said, Weiss? Did I even get up to... When did I even get up to Wilt Part 2? Like, did I say that out loud? I can't remember when I last spoke. I was eating and I muted my mic, but turns out I didn't unmute it when I stopped eating. So, Wilt Part 2. Ready? RWBY called across the arena. Yeah, I'm ready. John called back, taking his scabbard of his belt and pulling the sword out of it. Alright then, here I come. With that, RWBY yanked Crescent Rose off her back and extended it fully into its scythe mode, pointing it behind her. She hopped into the air and pulled the trigger. Wow, my first reading of this was way better. The recoil from the rifle shot sent the massive weapon barreling towards John, carrying RWBY with it. RWBY began spinning in the air, bearing her weapon's massive blade down on John. John gasped a bit, just barely managing to extend his scabbard into a shield and bringing it between himself and the scythe blade. The impact from Crescent Rose knocked John off his feet as he flew a few yards, landing on his back. "You okay?" called Ruby. John quickly scrambled to his feet, going into a defensive stance. "Yeah, I'm fine. I did tell you not to go easy, right?" "Good, 'cause I'm not done yet." Ruby brought Crescent Rose around and pointed the gun barrel directly at John. Without hesitation, she slammed the bolt action into place and fired. The high-impact round slammed into John's shield, the force of it sending up a huge cloud of dust surrounding John. But Ruby didn't stop there. She fired her scythe another 4 times, the rounds disappearing into the dust cloud and connecting with her target. When the dust cleared, John stood there, completely unscathed. His shield was bathed in pure white light, manifesting itself into the shape of the shield, but 3 times its size. "Whoa!" called Ruby. John's whole body now began glowing with the same white line. "When did you learn that?" Pyr and Ren have been teaching me how to control my aura," replied John meekly. Ruby nodded. If John could learn to control that massive aura of his, he would be a fearsome foe indeed. John brought his sword up in front of him now. "Well, I guess it's my turn now." His sword began to glow as well, and as the light manifested into the shape of a blade, then extended. John's aura-powered sword was now 6 feet long, yet when he began running at Ruby, he swung it at her like the sword's weight hadn't changed at all. "Whoa!" gasped Ruby. She leaped back, using Crescent Rose to vault even further, and narrowly avoiding the aura blade. She then fired her gun into the ground to propel the scythe into the air, before she brought it down with all her might. Again, the scythe connected with John's shield, but it just bounced off the aura-charged weapon, causing it to fly back, taking Ruby with it. Ruby landed on her feet, mind racing. She knew John was trying to discern a strategy for beating her, so she couldn't do the same thing twice. That's when she noticed something. John's shield was cloaked in aura, but his sword was bare. Ruby watched John's body begin to glow again, and at this time she noticed as the sword grew longer, the shield grew smaller. "He can't maintain both of them at the same time," she thought to herself. She smirked a bit. No, she knew what to do. John charged her again, attempting a horizontal slash at her chest area, expecting Ruby to dodge backwards. Instead, she came forward, bringing Crescent Rose up and parrying his sword swipe. The blade fell into the nook of the scythe, and Ruby began twisting her weapon down, taking John's arm down with it. Seeing the opening, she leapt up and kicked John hard in the chest. John lost his grip on his sword and fell backwards. He landed hard on his back again, winding him, causing his eyes to shut in pain. When he opened them, all he saw was a massive gun barrel in his face and a scythe blade hovering over his torso. "Alright, I give up," he cried, covering his face with his hands. "Yeah, like your hands are gonna stop the 50 caliber bullet," said Ruby with a giggle. She lifted her weapon off John and collapsed it back to its carrying form, which she attached to her lower back. She then held her hand out to him. John smiled slightly, accepting the hand and climbing to his feet. "I guess I still have to." John was interrupted when something tackled him in the ground again. A girl was now sitting on John's chest, giggling uncontrollably. "Good job, John!" cried Nora as she leapt off him and disappeared again. Ruby and John turned around to see 3 figures approaching. "That was awesome!" exclaimed Nora. Her face lit up with the giant smile she always had. "Your aura use is improving," stated Ren, keeping his calm demeanor, yet cringing due to Nora now clinging to his back, arms, and his shoulders. "Thanks," said John as he picked himself off the ground again. "I've still got a long way to go, though." "Well, it's no surprise that you won, Ruby," mumbled Weiss, arms crossed and looking away. She was in a bad mood. Ruby understood why. She and Ren had sparred earlier. It was a really close fight, but in the end, Ren's agility and mastery over his aura was too much for Weiss' speed and dust combat. The fact that Ruby had won a fight didn't help matters at all, nor was Nora's attitude. "Well, I guess we should go see how Yang's doing," said Ruby to the rest of him. As if on cue, a low rumble shook the arena. Sounds of violent clash and explosions could be heard faintly across the grounds. Yang and Pyrrha were required to spar in the Colosseum, where the floor was made of sand. They were restricted there after the 3rd time they had destroyed the training arena's cobblestone floors, collateral damage to their fighting. As the 5 of them crossed the grounds, sounds of clashing and shouting became louder and louder. When they finally entered the stands, they were a bit shocked at what they found. The place was absolutely packed. This wouldn't be unusual if it was an actual event going on, like a school tournament or another school came to challenge Beacon. This, though, was just 2 students getting in some sparring practice. Almost every seat was filled. Ruby noticed Team Cardinal, first years like her, and the others also some 4th years up the back. The sand pit had certainly seen better days. Huge craters in the sand were everywhere, and shells and bullet casings were littered all over the place. On opposite ends of the pit stood 2 girls. Pyrrha had her shield out in front of her, and a spear poised to strike. Yang had both her fists raised, and Basilica smouldering. Both girls were panting heavily, sweat pouring down their faces. Ruby stared down in awe at her sister. The fact that 2 girls could be this powerful, that a fight between them would draw such a crowd, was amazing. Pyrrha took a deep breath and smiled. "Ready for another round?" she called across the arena. Yang smirked, then pumped her fist in the air, and Basilica's reload action cocked, and 2 empty shells hit the sand. "I can do this all day," she stated smugly. She smashed her fists together, causing aura to ignite, wreathing her long blonde hair in flames, and her eyes turned from their normal lilac to red. Both girls poised to pounce at one another, but before they could move, the intercom sounded, and Glinda Goodwich's voice sounded through the arena. "Would Teams Ruby and Juniper please report to the debriefing rooms for your next assignment?" Pyrrha and Yang had arrived at the briefing room to find everyone else already there. The 2 girls went and stood with their respective teams as Glinda approached them. Her eyes on her hand screen. Behind her, a large screen began to boot up, displaying the crest of Beacon. After a few minutes, she finally raised her head to address Ruby and John. Your teams are going to be collaborating with each other for this mission. We've been asked for help from the Schnee Dust Company." From the corner of her eye, Ruby saw Weiss straighten a bit, which was something considering she had been at perfect attention from the start. "What did my family's companies want from us?" she asked. Glinda glanced at the white-haired girl briefly, but before returning her gaze to the team leaders. "They requested that we send some personnel to guard a convoy of a large shipment of refined dust through the forest of Foreverfall." She tapped her handheld screen, and the large screen on the wall changed into a map showing the forest. "Excuse me, ma'am," interjected Weiss, "but why are they traveling through a forest with a convoy? The Schnee family owns a railroad, and that runs right through the forest. Why are they using it?" "For some time now, Schnee's trains that travel across that railroad have been ransacked by bandits and have had their cargo stolen," replied Glinda. "Now they are trying different methods." Weiss raised an eyebrow. Ruby could see that Weiss was puzzled by this. "Then why didn't they ask us to deal with the bandits?" "This isn't of any of your concern. Your mission is as follows." She tapped her screen again, and 2 routes to the forest came in view. "Schnees are taking all precautions. There will be 2 convoys, as well as a train passing at the same time. The train and one of the convoys will be decoys. Hopefully the bandits will be unaware of their convoys and only attack the train, but in case that the convoys come into danger, it's up to you to protect them. That being said, each team will be assigned to a convoy. Team Ruby will guard the decoy, while Team Juniper guards the real one." "What?" exclaimed Rice. "With all due respect, ma'am, it should be me. My team that guards the real one." "Really? And why is that?" Weiss grew quieter and quieter until she hung her head. "Because it's her family that we're helping," said Ruby, stepping forward. "She has right to be more than a distraction." Glinda looked taken aback by the argument coming from the students. She opened her mouth to speak again, but was cut off when John stepped forward. Ma'am, it actually does make sense that they guard the real thing. They have 1 less member of their team as of now. If these bandits are aware of the convoys, they'll likely suspect that the one with the more security is the real one. So if my team guards the fake, we can likely draw them away from the real convoy." The Hunter Professor looked around the room at the 7 students, all nodding in agreement to John's proposal. Her lips pursued as she looked back down at the screen in her hands. "Very well," she finally said. "Team Juniper will guard the decoy, while Team Ruby escorts the real one." She looked back up at them with her usual look of discontent. "Any questions?" Ruby raises her hand. Has there been any news about Blake yet?" She was worried. Blake had almost disappeared one day almost 2 months ago without even a goodbye. It was only after she tracked down Professor Osmond that she learned Blake had gone off alone on some secret mission, but she never learned what that mission was. Ruby hadn't heard anything since. Glinda's eyes softened just a bit at the sight of the young girl. "I'm sorry, but we have heard nothing as far as I'm aware. One of Miss Ballindola's mission parameters was not to contact us till her mission was complete." Ruby eyes dropped slightly, then she sprung up, now determined. "Well, while Blake's out doing her job, we have to do ours. Weiss, Yang, let's go. There's 3 more chapters to this." Daredevil, John X, RWBY, yeah. I'm gonna probably call it a night here. Thank you very much for watching Weiss. Thank Penny for watching as well, and anyone that decides to watch this stream afterwards. I'll catch you all next Wednesday for the Warframe stream. Until then, have a good night.